Hello everyone, sports doctor Dr. Demchenko is with you, and today we will talk a little about insoles and knees. Sometimes it is considered that insoles are required for people who have flat feet so that their feet do not hurt. In fact, the insole is such a very interesting biomechanical thing that allows you to influence not only the foot, but also the knee joint, hip joint, lower back, and in some cases even the neck. Now I'll tell you a little bit how it works and why the insole is really important, especially for people who do sports. What is an orthopedic insole? Practically, this support of the arches of the foot. What are the arches of the foot? These are arches on the side and in front, which allow us to absorb the foot and maintain all our bones and joints in the correct position. In order for this support to occur, usually such a round module is installed on the insole called the pilot, and the module of lateral support of the arch of the foot, in this way. Accordingly, this is necessary for the foot in order not to overload the structures of the foot. Because if the foot is flat, then it begins to lean on the surface with the wrong parts. Most often, people begin to complain of pain in the joints in the middle of the foot. Why? Because these bones, as you can see, they are longer than the first and fifth, where the support should occur. If the foot spreads out, then these joints begin to put too much pressure on the support and arthrosis or unpleasant sensations may occur here. And there may also be unpleasant sensations if the foot is completely flat and the structures of the foot, which are too much stretched from the plantar part, begin to hurt. Accordingly, this is the support of the foot itself. But for an athlete, it is often more important that the foot is in the right position during all kinds of sporting events in order to maintain mobility in the correct position of the knee joint. How does this happen? To do this, we will take this model and see what will happen to the knee joint if the foot is in the wrong position. Here we have the vault is normal, the knee is looking forward. If the foot begins to fall into the side, then there is an automatic rotation of the tibia, and this gives a twisting load on the knee joint. And it turns out that every time a person with flat feet lands or makes a powerful support, the knee begins to go into twisting and lateral loading. As I said in previous issues, the lateral load, like this, on the knee joint is not a very useful load. As a result of such a lateral deviation, the bones here put a lot of pressure on each other, because there is still a meniscus. There is a very strong infringement of the meniscus, and all ligaments on this side begin to stretch strongly and succumb to tension stress. But what happens above? Due to this twisting, if you look at the hip joint area, there is also a pinch and, accordingly, pain in the hip joint area may develop. If we are talking about the lumbar spine, then the wrong twisting load begins to overload the spine in rotation. Accordingly, when we put the insole, the leg tries to fall, and it is slightly supported from the side, respectively. At this moment the knee will be overloaded less, the hip joint will be overloaded less. This is especially important when we land very quickly and cannot control the position of the knees, or if you are on one knee and you need to make controlled foot movements. Therefore, very often insoles are made not only in running shoes or casual shoes, but they are made for hockey players, football players, or people skating on roller skates. What are the types of insoles and which insoles are better to buy? There are standard insoles in the store. In principle, they are quite cheap and they work. That is, it cannot be said that individual insoles work and not individual ones do not work. They work, but the whole problem is that they work for the average person. If you have an average foot, you are lucky. The insole will work perfectly. If the foot has certain features, it is much better to resort to the manufacture of individual insoles. Individual insoles can also be divided into two large parts. These are, so to speak, sports insoles and non-sports insoles. Non-sports nets are most often made of very rigid materials. You will not be able to bend a sports insole in all places. This is an ordinary piece of plastic that you can beat like a wobble on a table. Walking in such an insole is more or less nothing, but if you start running on it, jumping, you can very much beat off your foot. Therefore, usually sports insoles are made of such soft materials that, on the one hand, do not allow the foot to fall completely, but at the same time do not cut into its arch and maintain optimal movement. If you have flat feet, you can find out about it quite easily by going to any orthopedic salon or going to an orthopedist. There is such a wonderful box called a podoscope. As you can see, if you stand up, you can see footprints in the mirror. If you get out of the shower with wet feet, walk on the floor and see that your prints are very flat. Then, it makes sense to make a steel for yourself, and this will significantly relieve both your foot and your knee and possibly other spare parts that are slightly higher. Thank you all. Dr. Demchenko was with you today. Subscribe to the channel. Bye.